The Gambler's Ruin Project, where the odds get cracked. MLS week ending the 25th of May, 2025. Data-driven analysis.
Welcome back to the Gambler's Ruin Project, powered by SmartBet AI. We're diving into Week 14 of the MLS season with two tactical matchups. Charlotte FC hosting Columbus Crew and DC United squaring up against the New York Red Bulls.
That's right, both games have playoff energy. Charlotte looking to defend their turf, and DC trying to claw back form against a banged-up Red Bulls squad.
And as always, these aren't betting tips. These are AI-powered predictions designed to help you think smarter, analyze sharper, and keep your strategy clean. Use tools like the 2% bankroll rule and gamble responsibly.
All right, first up, we head to North Carolina where Charlotte FC hosts the Columbus Crew. Kickoffs at 7:30 Eastern, and weather-wise? It's looking very MLS in May, 61 degrees, totally overcast, light breeze at 4 miles an hour.
Yeah, basically tailor-made for a cagey affair. No sun to tire you out, no wind to mess with long balls. Just you, the pitch, and 90 minutes of chess.
Unless you're one of the 3 Charlotte attackers watching from the sidelines. They're missing Nimfasha Berchimas, Brandon Cambridge, and Jalaine Forbes, all out with knocks. That's a major dent in their forward options.
Berchimas is especially painful. Kid's electric, maybe raw, but he adds verticality they just don't have elsewhere. No one on that roster replicates his style.
Exactly. Charlotte's creativity is already system-driven more than individual brilliance. Take away your pace merchants and secondary scorers. That's like pulling teeth out of a lion.
Meanwhile, Columbus rolls in without Rudy Camacho, which takes a chunk out of their backline leadership. But their attack, still very much intact.
And that shows up in the models. Let's talk SmartBet AI breakdown.
First up, ELO ratings. The Crew have the clear edge here. Charlotte, 1506.61. Columbus, 1569.28.
That's a 60-plus point difference, folks. That's like driving a Corolla into a Formula E qualifier.
Harsh but fair. And the expected goals don't paint a prettier picture for Charlotte. Charlotte FC, 1.17 XG. Columbus Crew, 1.49 XG.
And when we simulate this game 10,000 times using Monte Carlo techniques, here's what the data says are the most probable scorelines: 0-1, 12.02% 1-1, 10.22% 1-2, 9.39%. Result: probabilities away win 44.66%, home win 29.91%, draw 25.43%.
Columbus with the statistical edge, even on the road. And it's not just the data. Their structure, depth, and midfield control, way more polished than Charlotte's current patchwork attack.
But interestingly, our models don't fully agree. Here's how they split on outcome prediction. Random Forest, away win, XG boost, home win, MLP neural network, away win, stacked ensemble, home win.
That's a 2-2 split, not on goals but on game flow, which to me screams one thing: instability. Models love structure. Missing forwards, absent defenders, patchy form. It throws noise into the signal.
Exactly. The AI is telling us this game hinges on moments, not control. One bounce, one set piece, one lapse, and the whole prediction flips.
Alright, here's where I'd go if you're looking for angles. Both teams to score. Yes, Charlotte still has home grit, and Columbus should find the net. Under 2.5 goals. Borderline. Models hint at low volume, but defensive absences muddy that a bit. Correct score bets: 0-1 or 1-2 feel aligned with probability distributions. Best value? Double chance, Columbus, or draw. You're playing the model consensus without betting on chaos.
And remember, Charlotte could still sneak a goal. They're desperate, but they're missing tools. That's why I lean Crew here, even if the final margin's razor thin.
All right, one game in the books. Columbus looking strong, Charlotte looking stretched.
And next, we head to DC, where history, health, and high-pressure football await.
All right, before we head into our DC United preview, I've got a story. One of those classic MLS moments you don't hear about often.
Oh, are we talking bizarre goals, mascot chaos, or early 2000 SRFK crumbling again?
None of the above. This one's wholesome. It's about Marco Echeverri, aka El Diablo, one of the original DC United legends.
Love that guy. Proper number 10 energy, hair like a soap opera villain, touch like Zidane.
Right? So, back in the day, the team's about to fly out for a road match. Everyone's at Dulles Airport, bags packed, boarding passes ready. Except one problem.
Let me guess. No Marco.
Exactly. Total panic. They think he's ghosted the team. But after 20 minutes of searching, they find him. Not dodging media, not shopping duty-free, but translating for an elderly Spanish-speaking traveler who was lost and overwhelmed at security.
That's incredible. Man was running point in the midfield and the terminal.
Leadership comes in all forms. Some players dominate the pitch. Marco was out here assisting at gate C22.
Right? Cool under pressure, on and off the field. And honestly, the team waited. He helped the woman find her gate, got her sorted, then jogged back like it was nothing.
That's El Diablo for you. Fire in the boots, heart in the right place.
And people wonder why old-school DC fans talk about him like he's a mythic figure. Guy delayed a flight to help a stranger and probably still delivered a key pass the next day.
Exactly. All right, with that bit of DC magic in mind, let's talk about their upcoming clash. Can the current squad channel a bit of that Echeverry energy this weekend? All right, now we shift our focus to the nation's capital. DC United hosting the New York Red Bulls at Audi Field. Kick-off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And the weather's giving us absolutely no excuses this time. 58 degrees, clear skies, low humidity, light wind.
Which means it's all down to tactics and mentality. No rain to hide behind, no wind to blame your miscontrols on. Just grass, pressure, and 22 guys trying to prove a point.
And DC might actually have the edge in one very rare category this season: health. They're fully fit. Not a single name on the injury report, which might be the first time we've said that in 2025.
Should we be worried? Is this a trap?
Probably. They're either due for a miracle run or about to lose someone to a pre-game warm-up cramp. But jokes aside, it matters. Especially against a New York Red Bulls side that's without Marcelo Morales and Roald Mitchell, two key pieces of their rotation.
Those absences stretch their backline and limit forward options. Morales anchors the left side, and Mitchell gives them vertical pace. So this isn't the deepest bench NYRB has brought to town.
Let's bring the numbers in. ELO ratings, post-injury adjustment tell us this. DC United, 1,466.94 NY Red Bulls, 1,512.95.
That's a respectable gap, about 46 points. But honestly, this matchup feels tighter than that. It's one of those classic, ignore the rating, trust the context games.
Totally agree. The Poisson model paints a different picture, more generous to DC in terms of attack. DC United expected goals, 1.41. NY Red Bulls expected goals, 1.12.
And once we run the Monte Carlo simulation 10,000 times, here are the score lines that show up the most. 1-0, 12.52% 1-1, 10.61% 2-1, 8.80% home win, 42.65% away win, 31.34% draw, 26.01%.
So the data leans slightly toward DC. They've got the higher win probability and the sharper XG projection. But here's the twist.
All the AI models, Random Forest, XG Boost, MLP, even the stacked ensemble, are calling for a Red Bulls win.
Which raises a red flag. When the models go against the expected goals, you've got to ask, what's pulling them in that direction?
Form trends and market odds, most likely. The AI adjusts based on recent patterns, and NYRB have quietly been grinding out results. DC, on the other hand, is like a broken light switch. One week they're on, next week they're sparking in the basement.
That's harsh, but accurate. And also they've only won 2 of their last 7 at home, so Audi Field isn't exactly a fortress right now.
But it could be, if they score early. The data suggests this is a low-margin game, and if DC gets the first goal, it might just hold.
Flip side, if they don't, New York can drag them into a slow, ugly match. The Red Bulls love a midfield mess and a 70th minute scrappy winner.
Here's what the models point toward. So, let's translate all that into something actionable.
That draw no bet play on DC? Quietly sharp, no huge edges, but if you're playing smart, it's all about limiting downside. This is a perfect value hunting game.
Expect fouls, corners, and a lot of midfield trench warfare. Just know, this won't be a pretty one. And if you're feeling brave, go for 1-0 exact score. It might not be a goal fest, but it's got narrative written all over it.
A gritty, grinded-out special under the Audi Field lights.
Let's see if DC can channel their inner Echeverry and show up when it counts.
Just hopefully not at the airport.
All right, 2 matches, 2 data-driven breakdowns, and 1 major takeaway. Not all predictions point in the same direction.
Elo, Poisson, and Monte Carlo favored Columbus, but the stacked ensemble leaned just enough toward Charlotte to throw uncertainty into the mix. In Charlotte versus Columbus, we had a model tug-of-war. Exactly.
That's what we call a confidence contradiction. Called it for the Red Bulls. XG favored DC, the win probabilities were leaning their way, but the entire model suite. And then in DC versus New York, it flipped.
When models split or lean against expected goals, it's not a red light to go wild. It's a yellow light to slow down. It's not about clear picks, it's about interpreting noise. And that's what makes this week so interesting.
They think, oh, the models aren't in sync. I must have spotted something they didn't. They overreact to indecision. One of the biggest mistakes we see bettors make. Right.
Unstable. They disagree because football is messy. Look, these models don't argue because they're broken. And 9 times out of 10, what they spotted was a shortcut to a losing ticket.
This week's best strategy isn't about picking winners. It's about recognizing the volatility and adjusting your risk tolerance accordingly. Say it louder for the people in the back.
I don't care if it's your birthday, your gut is tingling, or your cousin's roommate says he knows a guy on the coaching staff. Which brings us back to the golden rule. Never risk more than 2% of your bankroll on a single bet.
It's the one thing keeping smart bettors in the game long term. That 2% rule. You can't model superstition and you can't cash out of emotion. Yup.
They offer probabilities. The most informed guesses possible, grounded in data, not dreams. The models don't promise certainty. That's the myth. And if you're sitting there thinking, but what if I'm really confident this time? That's the trap.
Make your move, understand your odds, and accept that not every board is winnable. Betting should feel like playing chess, not playing roulette. Exactly.
We're not here to bet every match. We're here to beat the long game. Save that 2% for a better spot. If the edge isn't there, don't force it. And honestly, sometimes the best move is no move at all.
Trust the models, not the myths. Systems over feelings. Data over ego.
And if the models don't agree, that's not a sign to bet harder. It's a signal to think smarter. Or maybe, just maybe, pass altogether.
Look at us, preaching discipline like it's a Sunday sermon. Next week we'll be handing out bankroll Bibles.
Chapter 1, The Gospel of 2%.
Can I get an amen? And a low volatility double chance, please?
Amen. All right, that's a wrap on this week's breakdown. But now it's your turn. What's your read? Is Columbus going to grind out another clinical road win? Or can Charlotte flip the script at home despite the injuries?
Or maybe you're riding with DC United to finally lock it down at Audi Field and prove the models wrong. Let us know where you're placing your faith. In the numbers, in the noise, or somewhere in between.
And hey, if you're fading the AI this week, we want receipts. Drop your counter predictions in the comments. What did the models miss? What edge do you see that the simulations didn't? We love a good you versus the algorithm showdown.
Just remember, this isn't about being lucky. It's about being informed. Whether you're tailing our picks or crafting your own plays, do it with discipline and purpose.
And if you're here just for the banter and wild scoreline theories, even better, community makes this whole thing fun.
Exactly. Whether you're betting, passing, or just arguing in the group chat, you're part of the project. So hit the comments, hit subscribe, and let's keep building smarter conversations around the game. And as always, trust the data. Stay disciplined, stay curious, and remember, the sharpest bet is knowing when not to place one. We'll see you next time. Same edge, not bigger risks. This has been the Gambler's Ruin Project, powered by SmartBet AI. Smarter bets.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Gambler's Ruin Project. Remember, our content is for informational purposes only, and all predictions are AI generated. Gambling can be addictive, so please bet responsibly. If you or someone you know needs help with gambling addiction, here are resources that can provide support. North America, contact the National Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-522-4700, available 24/7 for confidential help. UK, reach out to BeGambleAware at 080880200133 or visit begambleaware.org for information and support. Bet smart, bet safe, and as always, remember to keep things fun and balanced. We'll see you next week for more insights. Thanks for joining us, And don't forget to hit subscribe for more AI-driven insights and pro betting tips each week. See you next time. Disclaimer. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The predictions and insights provided by the Gambler's Ruin Project, powered by SmartBet AI technology, are generated using statistical models and historical data. These predictions do not guarantee outcomes and should not be considered financial or betting advice. Gambling can be addictive. Please bet responsibly and only wager what you can afford to lose. If you or someone you know is struggling with gambling addiction, seek help from professional support services. Legal notice. This content does not constitute an offer to participate in gambling. The Gambler's Ruin Project does not operate as a bookmaker or betting service and does not encourage gambling. All users are responsible for complying with local laws and regulations regarding sports betting and gambling-related content in their respective jurisdictions. The Gambler's Ruin Project, where the odds get cracked.